Imagine the heart of American democracy ablaze. Tonight, we delve into the devastating event known as the burning of Washington. This pivotal moment in the War of 1812 saw the only time a foreign power has captured and burned the United States Capitol. Let's uncover the story of that fateful night. The setting is August 1814. Tensions were high, and the young nation was deep into the conflict known as the War of 1812. The war, primarily fought over maritime rights, had shifted. British objectives included retaliating for American attacks on Canadian territory, specifically the burning of York. A formidable British force landed in the Chesapeake Bay, marching inland with the clear intent of striking at the core of the American government, Washington, D.C. The American Defense Forces were hastily organized and poorly trained. Their inexperience would soon prove catastrophic. The Battle of Bladensburg was a humiliating defeat for the Americans, effectively opening the path for the British troops to march directly into the capital city. President James Madison and other government officials were forced to flee the capital just hours before the British arrived, taking crucial documents with them. On the evening of August 24, 1814, British forces, led by Major General Robert Ross, entered Washington, D.C. and began their systematic campaign of destruction. The invaders focused their efforts on government buildings, symbols of American power and independence. The Capitol building and the President's Mansion, now known as the White House, were set alight, along with the Treasury and War Office. Fires raged across the city, consuming the nascent structures of the American government and spreading chaos and fear. Despite the panic, heroic acts of defiance occurred. Individuals attempted to protect their homes and, in some cases, challenged the British forces directly. First Lady Dolly Madison famously organized the saving of valuable state papers and the iconic portrait of George Washington before the White House was consumed by flames. Just as the destruction peaked, a sudden and violent thunderstorm, complete with torrential rain and high winds, swept through the city, dramatically extinguishing the major fires. The storm, often called Hurricane Madison, not only stopped the fires, but also caused significant damage to the British forces, forcing them to retreat. The aftermath was grim. American morale was initially shattered, but the attack also galvanized the nation, fueling determination to resist the British. The long, arduous process of reconstruction began almost immediately. The resilience shown in rebuilding the Capitol became a powerful symbol of American endurance. In the annals of American history, few events are as dramatic as the burning of Washington, D.C. in 1814. Let's delve into how British forces achieved this shocking feat during the War of 1812. The British assault on the capital was part of a larger campaign aimed at applying pressure on the American coast. This culminated in a rapid advance toward Washington after landing troops in the Chesapeake Bay area. The most significant hurdle for the British was the American defense stationed near Bladensburg, Maryland, just outside Washington, D.C. This battle proved decisive. The defense of the capital largely relied on unseasoned U.S. militia and a small contingent of regulars. They were tasked with blocking the well-trained, veteran British troops. Despite their numerical advantage, the American forces at Bladensburg were quickly routed. This defeat was so swift and complete, it was infamously dubbed the Bladensburg Races. With the path cleared, the British forces, led by Major General Robert Ross, marched into Washington, D.C. with virtually no opposition. On the evening of August 24, 1814, British troops entered the undefended capital. The occupation began with a brief pause before the planned destruction commenced. Upon learning of the defeat at Bladensburg, President James Madison and other government officials quickly fled the city, leaving the capital vulnerable to capture. The deliberate destruction of Washington, D.C.'s public buildings was a shocking act, carried out systematically by the British forces. The British justified the burning as retaliation for the American attack and burning of public buildings in York, the capital of Upper Canada, the previous year. Key government buildings targeted for destruction included the Capitol building, the White House, the Treasury, and other public offices. Private homes were generally spared. The destruction focused on symbols of American governance. Buildings were looted before being set ablaze, with the fires burning throughout the night. Despite the success of the attack, the British occupation was short-lived, lasting only about 26 hours. Their withdrawal was precipitated by unexpected natural events and potential American regrouping. A sudden, violent thunderstorm, perhaps even a tornado, swept through the city on August 25th. The torrential rain helped extinguish the flames and reportedly intimidated the occupying forces. After just 2 days, the British forces withdrew from Washington, realizing the difficulty of holding the inland capital and anticipating American counterattacks. The burning of Washington, D.C. was a profound national humiliation and a stark reminder of the country's vulnerability during the War of 1812. While physically devastating, the attack also galvanized American resolve. It spurred a renewed sense of national purpose and a commitment to defending the young republic. The War of 1812 was a conflict between the U.S. and Great Britain. While much of the fighting occurred elsewhere, the summer of 1814 brought the war dangerously close to the nation's capital. On August 24, 1814, the unthinkable happened. For the first and only time in American history, a foreign power successfully captured and occupied the U.S. capital. The British, fresh from their victory against Napoleon, turned their attention fully to the American conflict. A powerful British invasion force set its sights on Washington, D.C. The key defense point was the Battle of Bladensburg. Tragically, the poorly trained and organized American militia quickly collapsed and fled, earning the battle the nickname the Bladensburg Races. With the militia scattered, the road to Washington, D.C. was wide open. The British forces, led by Major General Robert Ross, marched into the practically undefended capital city. The evening of August 24th became known as the Night of Fire. What followed was a systematic act of destruction aimed at crippling the young nation's government. The British targeted key symbols of American governance: the Capitol building, the Treasury, and most famously, the President's Mansion, now known as the White House. President James Madison and his government were forced to flee Washington. Dolly Madison famously saved important documents and the full-length portrait of George Washington before the British arrived. For hours, the Capitol was consumed by flames. The destruction and chaos were immense, a stark image of national humiliation for the young republic. The fires were finally put out by a tremendous storm, which some saw as divine intervention, but the aftermath left the Capitol devastated. The burning of Washington, D.C. was a deep national humiliation. It exposed the vulnerabilities of the American military and governmental structures. Despite the damage, the decision to rebuild the Capitol immediately was a powerful statement of resilience and determination to preserve the Union. The event had long-term implications, reinforcing the importance of a standing army and shaping American identity around resilience against foreign attack. The burning of Washington remains a critical moment in American history, serving as a harsh lesson about preparedness and defense. It is a painful reminder of the young nation's early struggles and vulnerabilities on the world stage. This tragic event cemented the importance of national unity and reinforced the resolve of the American people to defend their capital and their democracy. Welcome to a story of courage and quick thinking, focusing on one of America's most remarkable first ladies, Dolly Madison. We transport ourselves back to 1814, during a critical moment in the early history of the United States. The War of 1812 was underway, and the British forces were marching directly toward the capital, Washington, D.C., posing an immediate threat. As the wife of President James Madison, Dolly Madison served as First Lady during this period. Her role was essential, not just socially, but in maintaining morale. The British were nearing the city, and everyone knew the White House was a prime target. Amidst the chaos, Dolly Madison made a brave, historic decision. President Madison had left Washington to join the troops, instructing his wife to evacuate for her safety. Despite the urgency to escape, Dolly Madison chose to prioritize saving important national treasures rather than focusing solely on personal belongings. Her immediate concern was the full-length portrait of George Washington, a priceless symbol of the young nation. This specific portrait, painted by Gilbert Stuart, was a centerpiece in the White House and represented the nation's foundation. The large painting was bolted to the wall and framed, making its removal a difficult task in the little time available. With the help of staff, she made the critical decision to cut the canvas out of its frame, securing it before fleeing the White House just moments before the British arrived. Dolly Madison's decisive actions ensured the preservation of this invaluable piece of American heritage. As she escaped, the British set fire to the White House and the Capitol building, destroying much of the capital city. Her decision to save the portrait is immortal in history, representing a steadfast commitment to American identity and national symbols, even in the face of imminent danger. Dolly Madison's courage provided a vital continuity for the young republic, ensuring a key piece of its history survived the destruction. Dolly Madison's legacy extends beyond her time as First Lady, solidifying her place as a true American heroine.